Oh, why am I so dark there? Oh, there, that's a little bit better. It's just dark. I can't get any more light. If I put that light on, it'll be too much for the camera. Anyway, okay, let me get my sugar. Let me get my TikTok people going here. My main audience is on TikTok. That's why I'm always talking that way. So, and I have these on YouTube because my lives are saved on YouTube. Got hundreds of lives backed up. Probably got about, I'm guessing, 500-600 lives. Okay. Hello, I am. You weren't here yesterday, or I didn't see you here. Not to say that you just hang on my every word and turn up all the time, but I missed you. I said, where's I am? Okay. People are looking at me weird. Who, what, I am, what? Anyway, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Hi, T. Okay. So where are you from? London. Hi, London. I was there very briefly back in 1980. I think I joined just a little late. Yeah, I just didn't notice it. Once the questions start coming in, I kind of get lost. Quebec, sorry. Mississippi, Perry Sound. Is that the Perry Sound? Where is that? Is that the state of Washington? Where is that? Missouri. Changed a lot since then. Oh, I'm sure. It was just a layover there. I was there. I didn't stay there. I was just I did the whole like 7 countries in 7 days in the mainland there in Europe. And then I just kind of went home after that. I was tired. Pennsylvania. That's Pennsylvania, PA, right? Georgian Bay, Ontario. Georgian Bay. So that's where Perry Sound is. Oh, okay, Ontario. Oh, never heard of it. Yeah, I do remember going to Oktoberfest in 1980. Okay. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Oh, okay. I want to answer this question, but I'm just going to do my quick intro now anyway, but it's a good question. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I say this every day, and I sometimes can't hear myself, so I have to concentrate. If you go on the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer, my courses, my coaching, and my free behavior board. You're on that behavior board too. That's what makes it work. That's what makes it different. The kids see you being accountable. They are more likely to be accountable. Plus, you want to be accountable. I wouldn't want it to be a one-way street. I'm the authority. You listen to me like I know everything. I think that's ridiculous. So anyway, I want to answer this question. I'm in Australia. Well, it's not because you're in Australia. But anyway, I raised my kids in Australia. So I wanted to ask you what to do about my daughter response no when I asked, do you understand? So, when you say, okay, so 24-hour media blackout, do you understand? They say no. Say, well, you'll figure it out eventually. Or you'll catch on. I would respond like that. Do you understand? Oh, you'll figure it out. You'll learn. And then I can shut it down. She's trying to pull you in. Don't get pulled into that. She's just going like this. Yeah, I would just go, bing, you'll understand eventually. You'll get it. Okay, my baby screams when she can't get her way. I don't know how old she is. I don't know what you mean. If they scream, so what? That's their own process. Don't interfere in that process. If they're not getting their own way and they have an absolute fit over it, that's none of your business. Let them process that. Is that a candle there? Yeah, that must be my candle. I forgot I lit that. I thought it was on the screen. I thought, what? No, it's on. It's me. Okay. Okay, great. She's 3 and so tough. Thank you. Yeah, just say whatever. Like I completely ignore attitude. If you want to get stuck into trying to address attitude, you're going to have to go find someone else for advice. I do not discuss attitude. I don't address it. A bad attitude means you're not a leader. So if a kid has a bad attitude towards me, I work on myself. And it's all about you anyway. You lead, they will follow. So it's just a bit of a tell. If they're cheeky, snarky, rude, disrespectful, it means that there's nothing wrong with them. It means that it's a learned behavior. You're not a leader. That's all that means. You lead, they will follow. We're not reacting to kids here. We're proactive. We're leading, and they will react to us. That's what a leader is. Too often parents are reacting to their kids. It's completely backward. It's got to be the other way around. Blah, blah, blah. A 9-year-old that has violent outbursts. I don't know what's going on there. 9 years old, they usually outgrow that if they've got a leader. Again, are the parents leaders? Are they calm leaders? Do they yell? That's why they have outbursts. If the parents have outbursts, the kids are going to have outbursts. And none of this, oh, they started it. Yeah, they're going to start stuff, but you don't join in. So, but yeah. And I don't teach grandparenting. I only teach parenting. Like if I tell other people how to tell people how to manage their kids, I wouldn't do that. Like I don't tell people how to manage their kids. If you're here now, you're soliciting my advice. But I've never told a friend or family member how to parent. That would be very arrogant and like rude. I just wouldn't do it. Like my kids, my son's expecting his first soon. None of my business how he parents. I'll just sit back and watch the show. None of my business. But if I'm babysitting, it's grandma's rules. Because if you are dropping your kids off with someone, you have to just let them do it their way. Like I wouldn't micromanage someone babysitting my kids. I don't like that at all. Whoops. Said, yeah, but how do you do that? Okay, but how do you do that? Keep watching. Is that the leadership thing? I have a full course on that if you have a 3 to a 12-year-old. It's up above in the link. If not, just keep watching. It's all I talk about is leadership. Leadership isn't about discipline. It's a very tiny part of it. But everyone wants to know how to discipline their kids. But it's not what I'm all about at all. It's about connecting. Once you're really connected with kids and they feel understood and heard, they want to please you. If they feel good about themselves when they're with you, they want to please you. That's what leadership's all about. I never really told my kids what to do. I just got that mutual respect going, and then they just kind of made good choices, if that makes any sense. It does to me. Just came across your page from searching about my toddler. Welcome. I've been on here for 1.5 years now. I love it. My daughter said, got to get on TikTok, Mom, it's for you. And I said, I'm not a 12-year-old dancer. She goes, get on there. I blew up overnight. It was absolutely mind-blowing. I can't even begin to tell you what happened. It went nuts. And boy, did I get a lot of hate because I'm different. I go against the grain. I'm not that trendy pleaser parent that's out there right now, that style at all. I'm the exact opposite. No, I'm not the opposite, but I'm certainly not that. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. If you do, God, what a good question. If you don't think your son is doing it right, will you snicker behind his back with other people? No, absolutely not. I think that's kind of bitchy. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I can't imagine doing that. I might sort of say, yeah, they had a bit of a scene the other day, but they're new parents. No, I wouldn't do. I think that's kind of bitchy. Maybe I will. I don't think I will though. I don't. Doesn't sound like something I'd do, to be honest. No. Just trying to think. Would I? I don't think so. No, because I want my. How do I explain this? They're my kids. I love my kids more than life itself. So I want them to do well and be happy. So if I snickered and teased them behind their back, it would just seem kind of like I don't want them to be happy, like I'm happy about it. My son could be moody at times when he was a teenager. Now, if I'm still around when his kids are teenagers and he ever complains to me about them being moody, I might have a bit of a smirk. That's about it. But I would do it in front of him. Moody, eh? Moody, you say? Wouldn't that be difficult? See, I'm snickering now. There you go. So maybe I will snicker, but you know what I mean. Would you say you stand along gentle parent? No, I'm not a gentle parent at all. And I've never looked at it. I've never studied it. What I talk about is pleaser parenting. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of parenting styles that are under that or not under that. I don't know. I am very careful about I've never read a book on parenting. I don't look up anybody else, but I know I'm not a gentle parent. I know I'm not. I'm not under that umbrella at all. But I don't know much about it because I'm very careful. I'm kid taught. I've never read anything on parenting. Kids taught me everything I know about kids. I would say the people in my life who taught me more about myself and humanity, it's going to sound ridiculous, and about life in a lot of ways, was the delinquent teenagers I mentored. They were very broken individuals, and I learned more about myself in a good way than anyone else has ever taught me anything. It was amazing. So yeah, I don't know why I got on that topic, but teenagers are my favorite. They're kind of my specialty. But because I know I'm always working backwards. I know what teenagers are like. I get them. I just get it. So I'm always working backwards. I want to get you through those teen years with ease. It's always my goal. So whenever I'm talking about babies or toddlers or preschoolers, whatever, I'm always thinking about how do I get you in those teen years so you'll sail through it like I did. It's always my goal for you. Blah, 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 blah. Well, you got a feisty 3-year-old who's fighting and calling names. I would put no name calling on the use my behavior board. It's free up there in my link, and I would put no name calling if she's calling people dirty. Yeah, she's feisty. She's getting away with it, obviously. At 3, she knows better. Okay, my husband and I have very different parenting styles, and it makes it hard. Yeah, a whole bunch of my clients. I'm gonna blow that candle out. It's driving me nuts. A lot of my clients are like that. So they'll hire me and they have very different styles. So like often when they hire me, it's usually the mom that hires me. She'll be sitting forward like this and the dad will be like this. You know why? There's many reasons for that. It's not that he's opinionated on me. It's just that dad are fixers. They don't want to search out help for parenting because they feel like they failed as a parent. And I just say it's like anything else. If you want to be an engineer, you go to engineering school. If you want to be a parent, you got to educate yourself on it because to downgrade the knowledge that I have, like that's like saying the 51 years I've been working with kids meant nothing. I've learned a lot in those 51 years I've been working with kids. And why not share? Why not learn some of that knowledge? Here's what I do with them. If they have very different ideas about parenting, I say, okay, I'm going to pick a leader. It's often the one that's like this. It just depends. It's the one I think I can get the best results with. And also the dynamics of the marriage. I have to assess all that. And I watch a lot of body language too. So I assess who I think it would be most effective to get the best results with. And it's not always the one they think. So I pick a leader between the two parents and I say, don't waste your money. Just do whatever I tell you to do. Follow my lead because you've paid for it, right? Don't waste your money. Men usually get on board pretty quick when I say that. They don't want to waste their money. So the dads do. So anyway, not that the moms do, but they just sort of get more on board. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. It's not that I'm smarter than them. I've just worked with so many families over the last 17 years. Anyway, so I say, just commit to like 3 or 5 weeks, whatever you've hired me for, and see how it goes. And you have to follow the leader. And you never argue with that leader. Just always say, okay, we'll check with mom or we'll check with dad. So you have to follow that leader. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't make you look weaker. There is usually one leader, by the way. I was the leader. My mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. My ex-husband was the pleaser. That's okay. But they backed up the leader. So long as that pleaser is on the same page as the leader, you only need one leader. There usually is one leader. And they're also often the fun one. People think they're just the tough. It's not about that. It's about bonding with them and being fun. So, yeah, just commit to it. And also, if you're looking for parenting advice and you're on TikTok or wherever you're searching, I strongly suggest, if you like what I'm saying, just follow me for 3 weeks. If you don't like it, move on and follow someone else for 3 weeks. You have to give it 3 weeks. Also, do not mix and match parenting styles. For example, I teach leadership. If you were to throw timeout into my method, it would tank because I teach mutual respect. And timeout, I think, is horribly mean. I think it's patronizing and mean. I hate it. It's humiliating. So I would never do that because I teach parents how to respect their kids. And I think timeout's very disrespectful. I can't stand it. So if you were to pick and choose what you like it's like a diet. You don't pick and choose what you like from different diet centers. You got to pick a path and go with it. So if you trust me, just go with me for 3 weeks. You can hire me. You can buy that course. That's a 5-week course. You can just keep following me. I got tons of free stuff. I'm on here every day. TikTok doesn't pay. I do all this for free. This is all free content. Just keep following. A whole bunch of people have gotten good results just by following me. Okay. If I do not resonate with you, don't bother arguing with me. Just move on. You'll never like me anyway. Just move on. I'm very opinionated. I've been doing this forever. I'm old, right? I'm in my 60s now. So I'm very opinionated. I'm never going to argue with you. So move on if you don't like what I'm saying. And I mean that. What I mean is I'm never going to resonate with you. It's about connecting with people too. Sometimes you just like people and You know, if you don't like someone, chances are it'd be mutual, and that's okay. You either connect with people or you don't. But yeah, pick a path, go with it for 3 weeks, see how it goes. And if you're both arguing over what parenting style to do, flip a coin and then say, okay, you're in charge for 3 weeks. I've never put my daughter in timeout, but everyone keeps suggesting I do. It's very trendy right now. And I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that's trendy. These mini therapy sessions discussing all the big feelings and emotions, that happens organically. Kids don't need therapy sessions unless they've been abused. Even then, when I deal with abused children, I don't do therapy sessions. It's not how I operate. Yeah, I work on their mental health, not therapy sessions, not all this discussing their feelings and everything. Yeah, it's just not how I operate with kids at all. Anyway, but yeah, timeout's very trendy. But yeah, I never listened to the masses. I had my own idea of what I wanted to do because kids taught me all this stuff. So I was kid taught. How can you go wrong if kids taught you that? Right? I never listened to an adult. No adult, and no one ever told me how to parent. They could see, oh, she knows what she's doing. No one ever gave me any advice on parenting. I have no recollection of anyone ever giving me any parenting advice. Not ever, not once. So yeah, I kind of had that figured out. Whole bunch of stuff I don't have figured out, but parenting came easy to me. Okay, my 3-year-old has entered a whiny phase. How best to handle that? Here's the thing. That says to me you're not a leader. I'll tell you why. By the age of 3, they can start to reason. If they know they're up against a leader, they don't whine or complain or they're not cheeky. A 3-year-olds often find their power. If you're weak and you're not a leader, they get to 3 and all of a sudden they find their power. They go, wait a minute, you're not a leader. I think I will be. So that's why whining usually kicks in. And also they only tend to do what works, especially by the age of 3 3/4 to 4. They only do what works. So it sort of says to me that they've sort of taken charge. They're being manipulative. And yes, 3-year-old can manipulate. They can do stuff they know they shouldn't be doing just to get their own way. That's all that means. Okay, they don't really think it through a great deal. They just go, whining worked yesterday. I think I'll do it today. It got me attention. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach is leadership skills. So I have a whole course on that. If you're interested, that's up above in the link. If not, just keep watching. What to do if a 7-month-old screams all the time? I don't know why they're screaming, so I can't assess that. I don't know. They could have colic. My son had a lot of that. And here's my theory on babies. If a baby cries, I pick them up. They're just babies. And I know some people have said, oh, well, don't spoil them with attention, with love. Are you insane? It's a baby. How can you spoil them with love? So yeah, if you're able to, just pick them up. Also, a lot of babies who are very fussy, I found there's a couple of different positions that they tend to like. One is facing out and patting them on the back. They seem to all like rubbing and patting on the back and a lot of bouncing around. Also lying on their stomach in your arms. I did that a lot with kids, and I'd hang onto their crotch this way and their head was over here, hanging off to the side. And you can really get some good swinging, bouncing action that way. So, and then over the shoulder and all that. But I found a lot of babies tend to like either one of those positions. Have worked really well for me with fussy babies because they might have gas, and that kind of helps get the gas going, get their stomach going. Their intestines can get knotted up. I'm just guessing here. Best ways to be a leader for your 2 and 3.5-year-old. Toddlers are under 3, but I'll read you my 5 top toddler tips. I have to say that slow or else I'm going to mess that up. Okay, number 1 is completely child-proof your house so you never have to say no. Number 2 is get a toy rotation system in place so that they're never bored. Number 3 is enter their world. When you're doing anything with them, enter their world. You do not expect a toddler to find their inner adult. You know the saying, use your words. What a patronizing, stupid thing to say. You know what you're saying to that toddler? Find your inner adult. No, their words are screaming, smearing poop on the wall. It's all like actions. It's just like this feral kind of stuff. It's cavemanish, okay? That is their world. So enter their world. When you're playing with them in their world, they look at you differently. I've seen it a lot. I've seen toddlers look at me just differently. It's like, oh, you get me. Like as soon as you enter their world, they just look at you differently. That's when your leadership starts, by the way. Also, stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just not, they're crazy. They're not sane yet. They haven't developed that frontal lobe. They've just got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. So people are always trying to make sense out of them. Stop doing that. You never can. I never did. And the 5th one is stop talking and start taking action. These mini therapy sessions with toddlers that are so popular, discussing all their feelings, they're garbage. They were invented for the mom. They feed the mom, not the child. They're all about the mom. They have nothing to do with that toddler. Nothing. So it drives me nuts. I'm always happy to fix this damage done because it backfires down the road, by the way. I don't know who teaches that. I've never looked it up. That's why I can criticize it. Now, I was asked, I can't go into it, but I've been asked to do some really high profile stuff. And a lot of it is putting me up on a panel on big national TV discussing parenting methods with other parenting coaches. I wouldn't do that in a million years. Like, to me, I think that's kind of rude. I'm insulting their methods. It's like diet centers going on and discussing your religions. It's okay to have different views. I just do what works for me with the hundreds of kids I've worked with. That's what I teach. But I wouldn't criticize what someone else does. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't get in front of someone and criticize what they're doing. Anyway, I just think that'd be kind of trashy or something. Anyway. How do you be a leader without the yelling and or being too harsh on the toddler? Well, it's all about leading, so they will follow. And you lead with fun with toddlers. And when they do something naughty, it's consistent corrective actions. It's not words, because they learn through repetition. They're watching you. They're not listening to you. They will agree with you. Yes, mommy, I know I shouldn't. Yes, it hurts your feelings. And they're just going to do it again. Words mean nothing to a toddler. That's not how they learn. It's through actions. Consistent corrective actions. If they have a toy and they throw it, you take that toy away, say no, put it away. If they hit with that toy, put the toy away. If they hit someone, remove them or the other kid. Remove them from the fun. It's actions. And they're watching you. They really are. When you enter their world and you just connect with them when you're playing with a toddler, get down on the floor with them. Put your head lower than theirs. Like, lay right down on the floor and play with them. I used to be the road and went with my kids. Like, they would have railroad tracks going over my body. I'd literally lay on the ground. They'd have it. I was very interactive with them when they were little, and they just look at you differently. You become part of their world, and they're more likely to look at you as a leader. It starts very young. How do you feel about screen time with toddlers? I don't have a big, sorry, I was at the gym this morning. Screen time, I don't have a big opinion on that. Screens are here to stay. I don't think they're a bad thing. It's just how you use it. Yeah. Any help for a hormonal 13-year-old girl? Yeah. Teenagers, they're my favorite age, actually. So know when to back away and be reasonable, and don't sweat the small stuff. Just save your energy for the big stuff, okay? And never say something like, well, when you're in a better mood, maybe we'll discuss it. Just say, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about it later, okay? So just back away. Give her space to be hormonal and moody. Got to give her space for that. I'll tell you something funny. I used to work at this place, and it was me. It was the telephone company. It was back in 1978. Anyway, I worked for the telephone company, and it was in the sales department. And there was me and a bunch of older guys. So it was me. I was like 18 when I worked there, and they were like in their 30s. They were all like family men, and they were salesmen. They were fun, like so much fun. And one day I was moody, and I'm not a particularly moody person, but one day I guess I'd said something to one of them, and he went like this. Oh, I get it. And what they did was they got a calendar out and they marked down all my moods, and they got to be a joke. Every time I'd say, oh, I don't want to do that, they'd go, oh, let's look at the calendar. So they had all my PMS days. So, God, they were funny. They had it all laid out, and they had my face on there, and it was all like angry. They put like the eyebrows like that. So they were so much fun. How to stop kids from needing explanations every time they get in trouble. They need to know why. What? As if are they stupid? They already know. What, how, are they mentally challenged? Is it disabled children you're talking about? Otherwise, they already know. Yeah, if they're disabled, that would be more of a specialty. You'd have to hire me for that. But otherwise, why do you need to explain it? You need to explain yourself? I wouldn't do that. Yeah, you hit her. Here's the consequence. But why? Are you kidding me? Like, I would never answer that. Never. Yeah. They need to know why. They already do. Should I tell the pool story? It's a really good one for that. Yeah, well, maybe later. I tell it every live. I'll come around to it. Yeah, really get playing with toddlers. I'll show you one thing I did. I was really good at getting a toddler's attention. When a mother would drop a toddler off at me and say, he's just going to cry the whole time. He makes strange with everybody. And I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, go. I knew within a few minutes I'd have them on my side. I always had something up my sleeve, something like this. the littlest thing, and I wouldn't look at them. It's okay, mommy. I wouldn't do that. How stupid. You're feeding the fear, right? So I don't give attention to what I don't want. I put my energy toward what I do want with kids, and that's how I get it, right? So I always had something like this. Next thing you know, I go, oh, I can't seem to hear anything. What's wrong with my ears? And kids are like, I never was really looking at them. I was just doing silly stuff all the time. They gobble that up. Next thing you know, they're not crying. They're following you around. They're just enamored with you because I know how to enter their world. And boy, because oftentimes, like my kids were used to that sort of stuff, but most kids weren't. So when I did stuff like that, they'd never seen an adult act like that before. And that's leadership. Boy, oh boy, are they good for you. Once you get that figured out, they're so good for you. They're so good for you. It's unreal. They want to please you. They're having fun. You lead with fun. The discipline's a very tiny part of it. You lead with fun. You connect with kids. Make them feel good about themselves. It's not about you. If you make children feel good about themselves, they're going to want to please you. Because you're the source of that high self-esteem and confidence. Make them feel good about themselves. Not about how they feel about you. It's about themselves. And in turn, they feel great about you too. That's how I did that I worked with troubled teenagers. I mentored them. That's how I did it. I made them feel good about themselves. I put all my energy toward what I wanted. When they were great, all my energy went into that. If they did something I didn't like, I'd just maybe look down and doodle for a few seconds. Oh, okay. And I just doodle. That was all it took. It drove them nuts. They couldn't handle my disappointment because they liked me, because they felt good about themselves when they were with me. You never go out to impress people. You go out to make people feel good. That's a general thing in life. You don't go out to impress people. I've known people who talk about money, and I hate materialistic people. They're just so boring. If you have to brag about money and all that, you got nothing else going on. Trust me. I've seen this all my whole life. Anyway, I've just never been impressed by that. Make me laugh. Make me have fun. Like, let's do something fun together. Like, be fun. Make people happy. Like, don't try and impress people. No one wants to be impressed. Just says you got nothing else going on. That's all that tells me. As soon as someone, I don't want to go into detail about my personal life, but let me think of a general thing. Oh, I just got my new Tesla. I'm like, oh, write them off. Like, it's just like so boring. And it's like that with kids. They don't want to be impressed. They want to have fun. They want to feel good about themselves. Think about that. That's a good life skill. How would you redirect throwing and tantrums when it's already bad? I don't know what you mean by that. I've got a million videos on tantrums if you're interested. I also have a mini niche course on toddler tantrums if you're interested. It goes into great detail about tantrums. I ignore tantrums. Yeah. Oh, thanks so much, Kelsey. That was going to be my daughter's name, Kelsey. But my ex-husband didn't want it because he'd never heard of it before. In Australia, the names are very different. So he said, Kelsey, isn't that a man's name? And I said, Kelsey Grammer, right? And I said, no, it can be for girls too. And now, of course, it's super popular. But yeah, I wanted Kelsey and he didn't. And I think that's fair enough. You got to go with what you both want. Do you know what name he wanted for our son? Leroy. This is in Australia, Leroy. It has a very different meaning here in North America. It was funny. Do you only do local teaching? No, I coach online. It's all done online. Actually, I rarely get clients in Vancouver. I used to do a lot of TV and morning shows here in Vancouver. So a lot of my clients were in Vancouver because they were local shows. But now it's all online. So I coach all over the world. And if you have an accent, I will probably talk too loud at you. I don't know why. I've got a really bad habit of that. If someone's got a heavy accent, I talk really loud. As if they're deaf. I don't know why they often point that out because I've talked about it so much too. They go, don't yell at me, Lisa. What? So anyway, but yeah, I get clients all over the world. Okay, cliff notes. They don't want to be impressed. They want to feel good about themselves. That's for anybody, kids, adults. They want to have fun. They want to be joyful when they're with. They want to have fun. And they want to feel good about themselves. They do not want to, no one wants to be impressed. Ooh, look what you've got. Ooh, look at that label on. Do you know, I hate that stuff so much. My daughter someone gave my daughter, I think it was my daughter, I can't remember, maybe my son. Anyway, they gave us, back in the day, my kids are like 30 now. So back in the day, someone gave one of my kids Osh Gosh Begosh overalls. I hate labels so much because I hate pretentious and superficiality so much. I picked the label off the because I was too embarrassed for anyone to see me with a label. That's how much I hate that stuff. Obviously, I've been around a lot of people with money in my life, and I just find them obnoxious. So isn't that funny? We all have quirks, right? I just don't like labels. I don't like them. If you got to wear a label, your personality goes down. I know that's unfair. I know it's unfair. I'm being unreasonable, but it's just my nutcase stuff. We've all got crap, right? 4.5-year-old whines constantly. Should I ignore? I don't know why they're whining constantly. I'd have to assess that, but I'll tell you a story. Both my kids only ever whined once. And my son was 5 years old. He'd just been at a friend's house, and I guess he obviously picked it up at a friend's. He came home and he said to me, "I'm bored." And he'd never used that snotty tone of voice with me before. He'd never said I'm bored before. And I was a very hands-on full mother, right? So it was like he just never had to do that kind of stuff. So anyway, and I said, "Oh, my precious angel." Instantly, he looked scared because he thought, oh, this is going to backfire big time. He knew me well enough. So at that point, he's trying to backpedal. Too late. I said, "Oh, my poor little bored angel, come with mommy." I took him in the laundry room, filled up a mop bucket, and gave him a mop. He never whined or said he was bored ever again. 5 years later, my daughter did the exact same thing. She'd been in a friend's house, came home and said, "I'm bored," in that snotty tone. And my son started laughing instantly. They never whined or said they were bored ever again. Can't manipulate this mother, that's for sure. So yeah, whining. I don't know why they're whining though. My kids' needs were very met. I met their need. You meet their needs and manage their wants. If you know you're meeting their needs and managing their wants is the discipline. That's because it's always they always have a fit over something they want, not something they need, right? You don't withhold stuff they need, but you might withhold an ice cream cone, but you don't withhold like healthy food and sleep and that kind of stuff. Okay. Wait, you missed it. You missed what? What was I talking about? I don't hear myself sometimes. I literally don't hear myself because I say these things so often that I don't often hear. It's a problem. It's like when you drive and you have no memory of driving to where you're all, next thing you know, you're there. I passed the laundry basket with his clothes and the Swiffer to him. Good for you. Good for you, Brienne. Yeah. You're bored. Oh, my precious angel. That's only because I knew I was meeting their needs. Like, it's not that they were wanting anything. There was nothing missing in their life. So you got to assess that. Sometimes parents will say, "Well, my kids whine, I just ignore them," like you say. But then I'll find out those parents aren't meeting their needs. So that's in coaching. I find that stuff out. It's pretty quick too. Parents will tell me one thing and I'll say, "No, that's not, I don't know what's going on, but that's wrong." I can just tell because I know how kids act and I can tell. And they'll say, "Oh, they're doing it just to get their own way." And I'll say, "No, they're missing something. Something else is going on." That's why you hire me, is to get that extra level of figuring stuff out, right? And what to do about it. Any tips for a 2-year-old not talking much? Oh, aren't you lucky? Nothing wrong with that. If you're really worried, take them to a speech pathologist or a pediatrician. But lots of kids don't talk to their 2.5 or 3 or even older. They're just very quiet. So I knew someone who didn't walk or talk till she was 3 years old. She had a brother who was 2 years younger. He was very active and never shut up. And she would just point and grunt and he'd get her whatever she wanted. And she's still, to this day, she's in her 70s now, she's still very laid back, just a very laid back person. And then when she did finally walk and talk, she talked perfectly and got up and just walked perfectly. No rush. Like, they're all different. If you're really worried, then take them to a doctor. Oops. Sugar. I hit the wrong thing. My daughter, I took her to a speech pathologist once, and I don't regret it, but she couldn't put like a C and an L together. Like, a clock was clock. And when she started grade 1, the teacher pointed that out. I thought it was adorable, right? So it didn't bother me at all. And she goes, "Well, you might want to get that looked at." And that's kind of a teacher's job to do that kind of stuff. But I felt, I don't know, this sounds kind of weird, but the teacher was such a lovely, God, she was adorable. So sweet. And I just thought, okay, I will, but it didn't really matter to me. Anyway, 2 sessions and my daughter could say clock. And I missed it. I missed the clock. Where's the clock? That was so cute. Thanks, Brienne. I'm a Facebook group and you sent them to me. My best channel growers, I've talked about this because they're not coming after me anymore, is my competition. I had no idea that was going to come at me. When I first came on here, I blew up overnight. And then what happened was my competition, which I don't know them. This is what other people have told me. Other people who teach parenting saw what was happening with my channel and started trashing me. And they would do duet videos. They'd take one of my videos and then just trash it. And then they would drive thousands of people to my channel. They grew my channel for me. And I was just silently sitting back watching it. I never said anything. I never looked at it, nothing. My daughter and I were laughing. We thought they had no idea what they were doing. The more they trashed me, every time I would get like 30 to 50,000 new subscribers in a day, I knew they had done a duet video. Because they have big channels, right? Bigger than mine. Anyway, I thought that was so funny. I believe in karma. You just sit back and watch it happen. I loved it. They don't do it anymore. I miss it. I was having a blast. That was the most fun in the whole journey of this channel growing. That was the most fun part by far, was watching that happen. The karma, the fact they couldn't figure that out, what they were doing for my channel. Oh God, it was funny. Anyway, they know now because I talk about it. And so, yeah. The only reason I talk about it now is because they stopped coming after me. What a waste of time, too. There's room for all of us. Like I have my views, you can have your views. I'm not going to trash anyone. Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay. I'm not threatened at all. I think it's fine that there's different religions, different skin colors, different parenting methods. I think it's just fine that we're different. I don't have a problem with being different from other people and them being different from me. I'm quite okay with who I am. Okay, you're talking about gentle parenting again. I don't critique that. And I've never looked it up. So I know very little about it. The only thing I know is when clients have come to me and then they discuss what they've done and they'll mention that. And then I go, la, 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 not listening, because I don't want to comment on that specifically. The only two parenting methods I comment on, and they're big umbrellas. There's a whole bunch of different methods underneath them. One is the old-fashioned authority parent, which is better than the trendy one that's out now, which I call the pleaser parent. And that's the one where you're trying to roll out the red carpet for your kids, make everything as easy as possible, discussing every thought, feeling, fart, burp, and heaven forbid that they should cry it out. You're just trying to make everything easy for them. Participation awards. What a bunch of garbage. I remember when that first came out, participation awards. I remember thinking, you're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. Sure enough, here we are. Mental health is insane. It's just an epidemic. And that's because of that parenting style. You're not raising strong individuals. You're raising needy little self-entitled snowflakes. You didn't validate all my feelings. Well, I'm just a bus driver, lady. But, it's just this weak, demanding, weak individual. That's what you're raising. I'm exaggerating, yes. But if you're going to err on either side, the authority, they tend to get rebellious teenagers who come out the other end thanking them for being good parents. They appreciate it, okay? The pleaser parent never gets appreciated. Your teenagers wipe their feet all over you and they never appreciate you. They end up being whiny adults too, who live with you forever and you have to pay for everything. Yeah. I've been watching this for 30 years. It's really frustrating. That's interesting. Tip for 3-year-old that started preschool has been hitting the teacher in transitions, not the kids though. Good. Rather hit the teacher than the kids. I don't know what's going on there. It's very unusual for a child who has a leader at home to act out like that, unless something horrible is happening at school, something that they perceive as horrible. But even then, like if you're a leader at home, they don't tend to do that at school. So if you want to hire me, I could figure that out pretty quick, what's going on there. Okay. That's the first thing I thought about your channel, not for the snowflakes. No, it isn't. Absolutely. I want to raise confident, strong, independent adults. That was my goal with high self-esteem. That was my goal. When they're teenagers and adults, other people have more influence because they get in relationships and all that stuff. But when they're growing up, you want to give them the best footing possible. And that was always my goal. Independent, strong. Like I never went to try and save the day. If my kids came up against something difficult, I'd say, well, and they'd say, what should I do? I said, I don't know. Let's figure it out. And I had them, we discussed it together. I never went in to save the day. I didn't want to do that. I just thought I'm going to arm them with enough information to handle bullies, to handle difficult teachers. And both my kids got the same difficult teacher. She should not have been a teacher. She was kind of mean. And none of the moms liked her. She was mean. And they both got her and they complained about her to me. And I said, good, it'll prepare you for later on. You're going to get bad bosses too. So I didn't try and save the day. I thought I just gave him coping mechanisms. My son got on her nerves. He super well behaved kid, but he did this. He's a fiddler, and he was doing this with his, and he wasn't making, I said, is he making noise? And she goes, no, I can just see it out of the corner of my eye all the time. And I just thought, what a funny thing to, and you can see she hated him for that. And then I thought, wow, she hates my kid. Then I found out from all the other moms, she said similar stuff about all their kids too. She was in the wrong business. So, and I said, good, you kids, you got to get used to it because you're going to meet lots of difficult people. Is it the transition? I don't know. I have no idea. The transition doesn't spark that. The fact that a 3-year-old could lash out at an adult, I would want to figure out why. That's all I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about what caused it so much as why do they think that's okay to do? That's what I would investigate your parenting style. That's what I would do. So, because remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. I teach parenting, not kidding. I don't teach 3-year-olds how to 3-year-old. I teach parents how to parent. So, yeah. Well, how old is he, Cynthia? He's acting out if he has to do or learn something new. How old is he? I'm guessing 5 and over. Is he over 5 and over? And I'll tell you why. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you why I thought that too. 5. Oh, they're perfect. Because they don't tend to get frustration at failing under the age of 5, from my experience. I'm sure other people tell you something different. But yeah, it's that, you know what that says to me? Failure is a negative. Failure is not okay. Do you know what? That's poor sportsmanship. And the way that you address that is you say, you know, it's better to fail and fail and fail and fail and try new stuff all the time. Because I always taught my kids, whenever they'd fail at something, I'd say, oh, good for you for trying. You put your all into it, didn't work, oh well. And then I'd tell them a story about everything I've ever failed at. The road to success is paved with failure. So don't treat failure like a negative, treat it like a positive. Good for you for trying that. Good for you. So yeah, do you focus on winning or trying? That's how you teach that. Like my mom always bragged about, like, especially to us kids, oh, you're such good sports. She talked about that. I was in my 50s and she was still, and both my brother and I, we play to win, but we don't care if we win, if that makes any sense. We play our best, but we don't care if we win. My mom hates poor sports. So she's passed away, but she hated poor sports. She was a real gamer, very sweet lady, but she didn't like poor sports. And she always focused on how well we played. And she used to say, I'd rather play well and lose than play poorly and just win through luck. So she focused on trying, and failing to her was nothing. Like, that was good for you. Losing was nothing. Good for you for trying. You see, it's how you play, not whether you win or lose. So that's why I guess 5 and over. They don't have the comprehension to understand poor sportsmanship. They can get mad, but the way you worded it. Anyway, do you offer coaching sessions for new parents? Yeah, absolutely. 8-month-old and would love to learn your ways. Yeah, I'd suggest this 3 sessions with that, because I wouldn't talk so much about an 8-month-old. I would talk about preparing you for what's coming ahead and get a whole bunch of systems in place with allowance, chores, expectations, separation anxiety, potty training. Get all that stuff sort of so you kind of know what's coming. That's what I do. I often, the link is up above. I often talk to people who don't even have kids yet. They'll hire me just so they're prepared. It's like Lamaze classes. Like, you want to be prepared for birth, which I think is ridiculous. The kid takes over. I didn't use one single thing I learned in that. People are they put so much emphasis in the birth and labor, and then nothing into the parenting, which is 18 years. Labor is 1 day, 18 years of parenting, and yet people don't tend to educate themselves on that. I don't know why that is. And I educated myself just by working with kids for so many years. So that's how kids taught me all this stuff. I'll tell you a funny story. I was going to be a child psychologist. I think I was 20 or 22. And I thought probably 20 actually. And I thought I was going to be a child psychologist because I was already, working with so many kids, babysitting and volunteering in daycare centers, hospitals, everywhere. And so anyway, I turned up, I think it was a week in, and they kicked me out. I asked too many questions, which was a big problem because the other students started asking me questions. I knew more than the teacher did. What they were teaching was a bunch of crap. It was absolute, this hierarchy, this patronizing, this I know more. You were trying to outsmart kids and set yourself up as this know-it-all. It was, I'm sure they don't teach that way anymore at all. But anyway, it was just a bunch of garbage. I hated it. So thank God I never did that. I would never have fit in. So anyway, I just learned through kids. Kids taught me all this. I just figured out what works and what doesn't. And I got to understand kids like that. If you listen and pay attention to kids when they're talking to you, that's how you learn. You watch them, and watch how they react to everything you do. You'll learn if you want to. I mean, that's whenever someone says to me, "Oh, I want to be a parenting coach. Can you train me?" And I say, "Yeah, go out and work with kids go out and mentor, go in hospitals, schools, go out and just volunteer your time working with kids, teenagers, and everything for about 20, 30 years, and then you can do this." Because that's what I did. I mean, it was, I put a lot into it, and I loved it. And it was the teenagers who said, "You've got to teach this, Lisa." They said, "You've got to teach what you do because no one talks to us the way you do." So they told me to do this. I never would have done this if they hadn't. And then I went and spent $5,000 on career counseling. It was 8 hours a day for 5 days. It was back in the day. This was a lot of money. It's probably 25 years ago now. And they said, "It's really weird because we usually come up with 3 or 4 different careers. You came up with one, and it's not even a career. It said teach parenting." Isn't that? And there were no questions on parenting. It was bizarre. They said everything points to teach parenting. I thought that was hilarious. And you know what they came out with? They said it's problem solving and being observant. Oh, that was interesting. Anyway, got to have an open mind. If you're working with kids, you've got to have an open mind. Because if you think you know more than them, you're stupid. You do not know more than kids. You have experience and wisdom. But if you think that you get feelings and life more than they do, you don't, because we are all riddled with baggage and with habits and with our own life experience. They're not, they're fresh. And when they feel something, they feel it from a different perspective, from like a fresh perspective. You're going to learn more about life from kids than anyone else because they're fresh. They're not opinionated yet. Yeah. How to be more patient with toddlers. Good luck with that. I'm going to give you my 5 top tips with toddlers. They were my least favorite age. Cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. And they're very physical. I have a bad back, so I found it difficult because you're always having safety, right? I'm a safety nut. And that's why it was my least favorite age, because I was worried about them. I couldn't take my eyes off them for a second. Okay, so my 5 top tips with toddlers. Number 1 is childproof your house so you never have to say no. Number 2 is do a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is enter their world, especially when you're playing with them. Get down on the floor, lower than them, enter their world, and play and let them lead the play. So you're following them in the play, okay? And they're going to look at you differently. That's the start of leadership. They're going to connect with you in a different way. And then number 4 is stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They haven't formed yet. They might smear poop on the wall. To that toddler, that makes perfect sense because they don't have sense yet. They just work on urges, okay? So don't try and figure them out. They're not figure-outable because they just haven't formed yet. Number 5 is stop talking and start taking action. None of these mini therapy sessions, your feelings, you shouldn't say, that's just garbage. That whole style of these mini therapy sessions with toddlers was invented just to feed the mom. Has nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing. It's all for the mom. It's very self-indulgent for the mom. Has nothing to do with toddlers. Every time I see it, I'm like rolling my eyes in the back of my head. Oh, drives me nuts. And you shouldn't, his feelings, and you don't, and the kid, yes, mommy, yeah, they're not listening. They're not learning at all. How to keep running after a 2-year-old. Yeah, good luck with that. Well, I childproofed my whole house, so I didn't have to do that. It was only when we went out, it was difficult. And if they were like in a park or something, because they walk in front of a swing set and get clumped in the head. My kids never had anything happen to them because I was watching them constantly. So yeah, it's physically draining. And my kids weren't, I was lucky. My kids weren't overly active and they were more on the passive side. So if they were hyperactive, I've looked after lots of hyperactive kids. So yeah, they're physically exhausting. Okay, 2-year-old, despite several hours of one-on-one play, won't let me walk away. Okay, they're in charge. Like they won't let you walk away. I got too much to say about that because there's a big answer there, and I don't want to go on about it. But you've still got to be in charge. Like my kids knew when it was playtime. And then when I said, okay, mommy's going to make dinner, they were not, I wasn't in any play mode at all. And I never explained myself. Like they just understood. Okay, mom's got to make dinner now. Here you go. And I'd set them up with Duplo or blocks or something. And then I would go. And then if they bothered me, I would just look at them and they just learned. that when mom had to get stuff done, because I met their needs. I was very attentive mother, so there was no guilt whatsoever. If I had to make dinner, I didn't feel guilty because they were trying to hang onto my legs. I would just peel them off and say, I'm making dinner. And then I would, put them back with their blocks or whatever. Oh, someone's having a little hissy fit. I won't point it out, but yeah. Ah, doesn't work with me. Okay. 2-year-old started biting. Best response reaction. You don't ignore that. You never ignore violent stuff. I have a whole course on that. It's one of my mini niche courses, and it's toddlers who hit, bite, etc. So if you want to check that out, it's consistent corrective actions. They do not learn through words. They don't give a crap if it hurts you. They don't understand because they don't understand it. They don't have empathy. A 2-year-old does not have any empathy. They don't get empathy, true empathy, where they really do feel bad for other people or are able to feel bad for other people. They won't all pick up on this right away. Is 3 years and 9 months. I've always said that, 3 3/4. That's when they sort of go like this. Oh, I'm not the only one in the world. That's when they just sort of understand. They can understand empathy. But in the meantime, you're working with consistent corrective actions. You're just teaching them that every single time they bite or do something, there's a corrective action, something they don't like. You push them away from you just gently. You say no, and then you walk away. And every time they go to bite, prevent it from happening again. It's work. It might take 2 to 6 days, 7 days to teach that. Make it a project. And you have to be consistent. It's consistent corrective actions. If you miss one time out of 100, they're going to remember that one time they got away with it. So you got to be diligent. Thoughts on Nanny 911? I don't know that show. I don't watch anyone. I don't watch. Why would I watch other people? Like, what I mean is, kids taught me everything. I would never, ever watch what someone else teaches. It just would be ridiculous for me. I watch kids, but I don't watch other people. I wish I would have found you sooner. My son is almost 3. Some people don't find me till their kids are 15, 18 years old, and they still hire me and get results. So it's not too late. Your kids are tiny. 3-year-old, that's just tiny. Tiny. I have a whole course. If you want to set yourself up as a leader, I have a whole course on that. It's linked above. It takes 5 weeks. Do not rush through that. Everyone wants to get to week 4 right away. Follow it through week by week. It's paced out exactly to get you the best results. So follow it along, 5 weeks. Love how blunt you are. I don't know how not to be. My daughter and I are so opposite in that way. She's so politically correct. She never says anything without thinking first. I never think before I speak. So what you see is what you get. I don't have any, she never wants to hurt anyone's feelings. She's very thoughtful and she's lovely. But yeah, I am spurted out. Then again, I think a lot of that is because I've worked with so many kids. They don't like all that fluff. Just say it. They like honesty. Kids love honesty. I think I have a lot of little kid in me in a way, and then I don't like pretenses and phoniness. It just annoys the crap out of me. Probably my least favorite personality trait is phoniness. And I can spot a phony right away. Even as a kid, I could do it. I could just spot a phony. And I hate phoniness because it's like, what are they hiding? What's the evil that lurks behind that? That's what I'm always thinking. Honesty is best. Yeah, as long as you're not hurting people. Ooh, is that cellulite I see there? Just being honest. You know what I mean? My daughter rarely tunes into these lives. The other morning she said she tuned in. I started telling a story and she goes, okay, I'm gone. Like, she's heard them all so many times. What story was I telling? Oh, I can't remember. It was one I often tell. It was Saturday morning. And she says, yeah, Susie started. It was the one where I was on stage in front of 600 people at a school and I was talking about parenting. They'd hired me to come in and speak. And I don't like speeches. I actually have a couple of speeches out there online. One of them I was sick and I asked them to take it down. They never did. I've never seen it. It was awful. I had a fever. The other one was my TED Talk. And I don't really like speeches. When you go out there, the whole audience was dark. There was no interaction. It's just, I'm on my own talking. I don't like that. Anyway, usually when I was speaking, I did a lot of speaking engagements and it's interactive. So anyway, someone yelled out, oh, I love your I love how you make fun of yourself, because I said, yes, I'm very into I meant to say self-deprecating humor. You can imagine what I said. And I didn't realize I'd said it, and they all go, and then they all started laughing, and someone yelled out what I'd said. So yes, self-deprecating humor. I always have to stop and think before I say that. I believe in that. I believe in making fun of yourself because it puts other people at ease. We've all got flaws. I have no problem being imperfect. Who wants to be perfect anyway? I'm very comfortable with my flaws. I like myself. I've grown into myself. I'm in my 60s. You get that way. You really like yourself, unless you've got a mean streak. I think mean people never like themselves. But yeah, if you've got a mean streak, it's really hard to like yourself. But I'm a good person. I'm okay with making mistakes and being imperfect. Lord knows I've had a lot of practice. Can a 2 or 3-year-old appreciate humor? Yes and no. You got to judge that very carefully. I used to tease and torment my son mercilessly. I used to lay underneath his bed and grab his ankles when he'd walk by, scaring the bejeebies out of him. I was like that. I love that kind of stuff. My daughter hated it, so I never did that to her. They're all different. You've got to parent them differently. My daughter hated that kind of stuff. Whereas my son, when he was a teenager, it was payback time. Boy, was he good at that kind of stuff. To this day, he does something to this day. He's 33. Even if he talks about it, I get the willies because he got me back big time. Could I complain about that if he was tormenting me with something? How could I possibly complain about that? It's payback. So yeah, they're all different. I've worked with tons of kids and they love humor, but you've got to judge it. I use a lot of sarcasm. And my kids were so used to that, but I knew when I was working with other kids, I had to judge if they could handle that, or what made them laugh. So it's like anybody, you have to sort of feel them out first and figure it out. Because some kids were raised in homes where there wasn't any humor. My kids are raised in a crazy home, so humor was flying. And same with my mom was very funny. So I was raised with a lot of sarcasm and humor and being teased a lot. I remember once I was adopted, and I remember once there was a big family gathering, and I walked in the room, and one of my cousins said, "Oh, the fun has to stop. The adopted one's here." That was me as I walked in. I loved it because I always felt special because I was adopted, because I was so wanted and chosen and all that crap. Anyway, but yeah, now a lot of kids would be upset by that because I thought it was hilarious. Okay. Oop. Oh, it's just when it flies, I can't keep up. Okay. My son started throwing tantrums. What is the best approach? The best advice I can give you is to go back and look at all my tantrum videos. Just put Bratbusters tantrums. About 500 videos will probably pop up, literally. I've talked about tantrums till I'm blue in the face. You completely ignore tantrums. Unless they're 16 months and under, then you gently redirect them by reading their book out loud, not to them, but just to yourself. Reading a book out loud, they'll eventually crawl in your lap and start reading with you. But that's with babies. With toddlers, you completely ignore tantrums, but they have to see you. It's like you're just waiting in a lineup, just waiting for it to finish. You're not talking on the phone or talking to someone else. You're ignoring the crazy, waiting for the calm. As soon as they're calm, you say, "Oh, you all done? You want to go to the park?" You don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. The psychology behind that, oh, there's a whole bunch of it. Do you want to hear it? Are you interested? The ignoring tantrums is what grew my channel. That's when people came after me with vengeance. And every time someone would trash me on their channel, they would drive all the followers to me. So it was ignoring tantrums. I got a lot of trash talk over that, which, I love. If you're not upsetting the apple cart, you're doing something wrong. You got to come in hard. If you really believe in something and it goes against the grain, push, keep going, keep going, keep going. Ignoring tantrums is the best way to deal with them. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Do you really want me to go into some psychology about that? Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they want all the psychology behind it. But most people don't. I don't even like talking about it. Well, I do with them because they know the terminology and I don't. I just know the common sense way of talking about it. But okay, you want to know the psychology? Okay, I'll tell you why. A tantrum is a reaction to not getting their own way. And you only do this if it's a tantrum over a want, not a need. If they're tantruming because they have a fever, or they're starving to death, or they're overtired, you meet their needs. So this is assuming you've met their needs. They've had enough sleep, they've had enough food, you know what I'm saying. Otherwise, a tantrum is over not getting what they want. It is their brain processing not getting their own way. If you interrupt that, you're slowing it all down. If you don't allow their brain to start and finish their own tantrum and their own recognizance, you're interrupting the process. You are going to make tantrums have more intensity, last longer, and be more frequent. If you interrupt that process, you're not allowing them to learn how to self-regulate. You can't help someone self-regulate. That is garbage. Oh, you got to help them self-regulate and discuss their feelings. What a bunch of garbage. It's ridiculous. I don't know who's teaching all that, but I know it's out there. But anyway, yeah, it's very important that they learn how to do that. The better you get at ignoring tantrums, oh God, why do I have to keep reading this? They will lessen in duration, frequency, and intensity. I keep coming up with other words for that, but it's the better you get at ignoring tantrums, they will decrease in duration, frequency, and intensity. It's just the way it goes. I got a million tantrum stories. Anyway, but does that make sense? It's their own brain. If you interrupt that process, you're making it worse. You're teaching them that they'll never learn how to self-regulate. They'll never be self-disciplining. They'll never be competent. Like, they can figure it out. And they will, really quickly. I ignore my 5-year-old today and she threw rocks at me. Yeah, that's when they get violent. You have to restrain them. You still ignore them though, but you just restrain them. No hugs? God, no. Why? You're rewarding it? Good tantrum. Good tantrum. Yeah, I know this just gets snowballing and people want to know why. But most people who are on here have been here for a while, like they've been following me for a while. Don't say anything about the rock throwing. Why? It happened during a tantrum. She's 5. After the tantrum, say, you do not discuss a tantrum. After the tantrum, you say, you threw a rock. Here's the consequence for that. Do not discuss tantrums before, during, or after. It's absolutely pointless. It's an emotion. It's like discussing crying. It's not even an emotion. It's just a bodily function. It's just something that happens. She could hurt someone. Yeah, that's right. Don't discuss that though. Just say you threw a rock. Here's the consequence. Don't do the therapy session stuff because there's no point. What if they ask for a hug during a tantrum? They can hug my leg, but I'm not hugging them back. Okay, I'll tell you my tantrums. One of my favorite tantrum story. My son was 3 years old. We were walking through a busy, loud mall, and we were just walking. But nothing had happened. We weren't even talking. We're hand in hand walking, going back to our car. So he decides to throw a tantrum. It was, I think, his second to last. He had one more tantrum after that. He didn't have a lot of them, but he had them. He was good at it. And so we were near some stairs, so I pulled him off to the side, put him up against a store window, got out my nail file, and just stood there like this. I'm just waiting, standing there. All these young moms were walking past. Oh, you should give him a hug. Talk about his feelings. I'm like, oh, God. They didn't know what they were talking about. They're just young, you know. And I had lots of experience with kids. So before I had my own. Anyway, so I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, keep going. But then the grandmothers and the moms with older kids kept coming up to me. These are the experienced ones who know what they're talking about. They kept coming up to me saying, good on you, you know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. So it didn't last that long. He stopped his tantrum because it got no attention whatsoever. And he stopped his tantrum. I said, oh, you all done? Okay, let's go to the car. Like, and that was it. No big deal. None. Now, if he was with his dad, it would have lasted longer. His dad was the pleaser, whereas I was the leader. So his dad would have probably tried talking to him, but he learned after a while, he started ignoring it. He learned how well it worked, so he just stopped. But yeah, and my son only had one more tantrum after that. Why on earth would you discuss that with a child? It just makes no sense whatsoever. None. What's the point? Okay. Oh, I've been on here for over an hour now. I'm going to get going. I'm going to tell the pool story before I go because it completely encompasses how I feel about leadership parenting. It wasn't parenting, it was someone else's kid I did this with, but it completely explains leadership with children. It's my favorite story to explain the way I feel about kids and how you should treat them. Anyway, this is a true story. My son was 8 years old. It was his 8th birthday party, and it was just me, the only adult there, and 6 8-year-old boys. And all I was doing in the pool was counting heads. Before they got in the pool, I was very clear. And I said, okay, kids, Whaley does not go in the pool. It was a huge blow-up toy. It was off to the side, way off to the side, actually. And I said, it cannot go in the pool because I can't see behind him. 3 of you could die in the pool and I wouldn't even know it. So Whaley cannot go in the pool. Fine. I made it very clear. Okay, whatever. They get in the pool. Sure enough, one of the kids grabbed Whaley, brought it in the pool. I said, Whaley out of the pool now. And the kid said to me, no. My son went like this. He knows he was going to see a show. He loved this stuff because I never got to discipline my own kids. They weren't disrespectful. So anyway, I'm in the pool fully clothed and had that kid out right beside me like that. He didn't even know what had happened. It happened so fast. And I said, you sit there for 10 minutes now. And then I'm counting 5 heads in the pool and I've got this one kid sitting beside me. For those 10 minutes, I talked about his soccer, his school. I worked with him at school. I used to help out at school at volunteering and with the difficult kids. Anyway, and he was a handful. And then I talked about school. I talked about PlayStation games, everything he loved. He was having a great time. 10 minutes is up. I said, okay, 10 minutes is up. You can go back in the pool and have fun. Couldn't get rid of him. He kept talking and talking and talking. Like it was probably another 10 minutes. And I finally said to my son, weren't you going to play basketball in the pool now? And my son said, come on in, we're playing basketball. We need 3 for each side. So finally I got rid of him. He was like my shadow for the rest of the day. Lisa, can I help you with the cake? And oh my God, I couldn't get rid of him. Now, there's so many different lessons in there. Number one, I was very clear about the instructions. And I did not say, please, it's a safety thing. Please don't bring Whaley in the pool. I didn't go on about it. I said, Whaley, it's dangerous. Blah. I explained it. And they already knew. When he pulled Whaley in the pool, I did not say, can you please put Whaley out of the pool? I'll count to 3, whatever. I didn't beg him. Whaley out of the pool now. This is a life and death safety thing. I take safety very seriously. So then I took action. When he said no, instant action. It's safety. I'm in there. I took him out of the pool. I had him under my arm, dragged him out of the pool, walked up the steps with him, and I had him sitting down beside me. And I was very clear. Now you sit there for 10 minutes. Why did I not say why? He's not stupid. He already knows. Why would I drag it all out? I don't drag out the negative. I focus on the positive. I focus on the good kid. I deal with bad behavior, but I focus on the good kid. I bring out the good in him. Then why am I talking? I'm talking about everything he's proud of. Not necessarily what they're good at. What they're proud of is not always what they're good at, by the way. Got to be careful with that. Well, I could go on about that one for a long time. But anyway, find what they're proud of, what makes them feel good about themselves. So I talked, and I was watching him, like what built him up. And he loved talking about PlayStation games, of course. So I'm talking. Now he's feeling like $1 million about himself. He doesn't want to leave. And then when I said, okay, 10 minutes is up, go back in the pool. Why would I not say, do not take Whaley in the pool again? Because that would completely destroy everything I just built up with this kid. I'd remind him about the rotten thing he did. Why would I do that? I think that's mean. I just think that would be mean. So I said, have fun on a positive, right? Couldn't get rid of him because he felt great about himself. I made that kid feel great about himself. Now, this was a kid who was always in trouble. So he was always feeling like crap about himself. So I made him feel great about himself when he was with me. Therefore, he wants to please me. He was good as gold for the rest of the afternoon. The first thing his mom said when she picked him up later on was, oh, I'll bet you were a handful or something negative instantly. And he was rotten to her right away. So, she just didn't get it. But anyway, it's none of my business, but she just didn't get it. But there you go. That's leadership. You focus on the good kid, but you deal with bad behavior. Get it over with. Get it done really fast, and then make them feel good about themselves. When you're the source of their high self-esteem and their pride, they want to please you. Isn't that just cool? Isn't that what a leader's all about? It's like a mentor. They look up to you. They want to please you. And then when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you, because I used to mentor delinquent teenagers too. So they don't want to disappoint you. You become the source of their pride in themselves. You make them feel good about themselves. That is leadership to me. It's not about just disciplining. That's a tiny, tiny part of it. It's a tiny part of it. Okay, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. If you go on the link above, you can hire me for coaching. I do it all over the world because it's all done on Zoom. Thank you to the pandemic, by the way, for that. Not that I'd want the pandemic, but I used to do Skype. and beep, beep, beep. And no one ever knew how to do it. It was like I had to teach them how to use Skype every session. And then the pandemic hit, and Zoom too. I transferred into that. But then now everyone knows how to do Zoom since the pandemic. So it's made my job a lot easier. But anyway, so coaching is all done on Zoom if you're interested, just you and I. And then the courses are all there. They're all listed there. The big one is How to Get Respect in 5 weeks, 3 to 12-year-olds. That one, do not rush through it. You have to make that 5 weeks. You can even do it in 6 or 7, but do not rush through that one. It's all paced out to work a certain way. And then I have mini toddler courses. Then for free, there's my behavior board. That teaches you how to give respect to get it, because you're on that too. If the parents aren't on the behavior board, you're not accountable. You're not showing them how to act. You lead, they will follow. So anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk again tomorrow night, Tuesday nights. I've got it in my bio. I do these lives every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Vancouver time, and then every Saturday, 10 a.m. Vancouver time. Talk later. Bye now.